I met people that I'd never met before in my life, but that were gifted like me. And none of them judged me because of how I looked. In fact, they said, you're probably gonna make it farther in The Voice than me because of your story, and because of how you looked. And I had all the hope in the world. I was excited. Yeah. Fast forward 90 days of being in that hotel, I actually got the chance of being on the stage with CeeLo Green, Christina Aguilera, what's the other guy? Adam Levine, and Blake Shelton, right? The four.
Yeah. Come on, hey, what's wrong with the world, mama? Yo, people living like they ain't got no mamas. Yo, I think this whole world addicted to the drama. They only attract the things that be bringing the trauma. Yeah.
It's so crazy how it happens so fast. I'm backstage, and I'm just hearing them speak. As every person's going up on stage, you're right there. They're loading you back up. Okay, it's your turn. They're gonna sing. They're gonna be done soon, and then it's your turn. So I was nervous, bro. But I'm praying, but I'm also on camera. They're filming this whole thing. So it's like, man, I gotta be bold right now. Like, what am I doing this for? To please people? Like, should I pray right now or should I not? And so I prayed and I was like, God, I need your help here. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I trust you. And sure enough, they're like, okay, go. And they had like the headset and everything. Bro, I'm 15, bro. I'm so young. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. But I go out and it's way smaller than I thought it was.
Okay.
And you just see, from the instant you walk out, there's a little bit of like ground. You look to the left, hundreds of people, like this big little like stadium. And so I try not to focus on the people. I just try to focus on where I was going because it was dark. Yeah. And so I'm walking on the stage, and there's a whole live band that plays with you as well. None of it's a track, as far as I know. But the live band was there, and the lights are off, and the lights went down. I just hear, okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. And it's Where's the Love by Black Eyed Peas. And so I start doing the rap. I start singing right after. I gave it my best, bro. I think I even hit my knees at some point when I was singing. Like, I was like, I'm gonna give it your all. I literally gave it my all, bro. I'm out there. And by the end of the song, no one turned around.
Oh, man.
Bro, I was like, is this a bad dream? Like, what is this? Like, this doesn't make sense. That was my first thought.
Wow.
And even as I was singing, towards the end of the song, I looked out in the crowd and I thought I seen someone laughing at me. And I was like, what? Like, what does it make? This has to be a bad dream. I just felt an attack, bro, immediately, like on my emotions, on the whole moment.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go home. I wanted to give up. I was like, heck no, bro. Like, this is done. So that happened. Song ends, lights come up, and the crowd starts like, clapping and stuff, because that's what the sign says.
Yeah.
And then all the judges turn. So I see them all right there. They're in front of me, but I can't get to them. And there wasn't a connection. And so they said, man, I thought you were two people. I like the singer, but I didn't know about the rapper. It's like, man, I should have turned around, Blake Shelton. And I was like, man, I was just listening because I didn't know if I was like allowed to speak or what it was,
Right.
And so then Christina Aguilera said, how old are you? And I said, I'm 15 or I'm 16. And she said, man, you're 16. Everybody's like, what? Like, they thought that was cool. So I was like, I was happy at that point. I was like, okay, cool. I did make it this far, And then they said, yeah, you're 16. You just really got to focus on your craft. You have a lot of time. Focus on your craft and you're going to be in a great position. And that's what I asked them. I said, how do I get from where I'm at to where you are? And back then I seen it as a position of influence, but I didn't know I could have influence where I was right there.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times for anyone's listening, we can think that influence comes from a position, but don't work yourself to the point of death for a position when the true influence comes from the Lord, and it comes from where you are now and you being thankful now and influencing your family, influencing those around you, being an influence in your church. Even if you don't have the position or title of pastor, anyone who's listening, bro, like, they can still be a pastor right there.
Absolutely.
Just care for people.
Yeah.
Show them God's love. Don't hold back because you want something that's evil. Release God's love that's inside of you. You're gonna have God's love in that position anyway.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest part for me in that moment was like, man, out of body experience. I didn't get chosen. I got rejected. I'd been rejected my whole life. I didn't think it was because of alopecia. I had an identity crisis.
Yeah.
So I thought it was just me. And when no one turned around, at the end, they walked me down to this room and they were gonna do some therapy with me. because that's what they normally do for people who, you know, and I was like, I was just like literally like a stone. Like I was like, I don't even want to talk right now. My mom's like, let's just get him home. She's crying. You know, I'm in the car on the way back to the hotel, grab my stuff. I was just depressed, bro. But that showed that it was more about that stage than it was about my development for me. And so that really told, you know, a big story, which was I truly didn't know the Lord yet. If those things can impact me so much, a no, right? Or expectation is just failed and it's not what I thought it would be, you know, then how could God blow my mind?
Yeah.
He couldn't, because my mind and my expectation is here. And if he doesn't meet this specific thing, he's not my God. And so I didn't know the Lord.
Yeah.
You know, I knew who he was. I knew he was good, but I didn't know him. And so if I didn't see good in my life, I didn't think he was there.
And then how did you kind of face that rejection? Because, I mean, you had all this time and effort and energy invested, your family's time, energy, and invested.
Right.
And so now you're facing this rejection. So how do you come out of that?
How'd I come out, man? I'll tell you what, bro, I struggled with it for a long time. I would say, you know, the next 5-6 years were spent in that rejection, in and out. I just dealt with it in different ways.
Got it.
And tried to hide it through relationships. After that, once it aired on the show, I was like famous at my school. Like everybody was like, oh, look at this guy, because I went back to school in person. And I was I went to Costa Mesa High School.
Okay.
And so when I was there as a new school, all of that, I was just trying to keep it low key. And then once it aired, I just seen a Twitter post, this guy goes to our school. And I was like, oh snap. The next day, bro, it was like I wasn't this kid that everyone should beat up or should make fun of, or it was the complete opposite. I was more popular than like the football guy, like more popular than the jockey.
Because they saw you on TV.
Bro, because, you know, the TV thing. But then not just in my school, bro, I was at Disneyland. I went to the mall. I was kind of hungry for attention, to be honest. Because I didn't get any attention when I was a kid. I was just the bad attention, right? I was like made fun of and stuff like that. So the making fun of stuff stopped immediately. Like there was nobody that made fun of me ever again. It was literally awesome. But the hard part was dealing with, now you have influence.
Yeah.
But you have influence because of your gifts. And that was a trip for me, bro, because I was serving at the church at that time. I felt like whenever I was singing, because I was in the youth group at the church, like if it's not perfect, I suck. If it's not perfect, I messed up what God was trying to do. It was all about being perfect. It was all about this image now. And so everywhere I went, if I didn't get somebody who noticed me, I felt like bad now. And so it's crazy, bro. I experienced extremes on both ends, but how I dealt with it was in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I chose to see myself as better than others. I chose to see myself as, oh, I was on this show, I was famous, this is my Instagram. I was trying to like make it look more important than it is. And that's a very dangerous place, especially coming from a place of God and a foundation and a family of God, because you can think that, oh, I already know everything I need to know about God. You can't teach me anything. And that's why I stayed there, because I was so prideful after that. And pride can be both ways. And Pastor Gabe taught me this too, my mentor. He said, pride can be, you think you're better than others, right? That you know it all. Or pride can be that you see yourself to a fault, where it's an insecurity. You know, talking about a scripture, we're talking about Saul, right? The king of Israel.
Yeah.
And Saul disobeyed the Lord, even though he went to war and he kept some of the cattle and some of the things that he was supposed to do away with.
Yep.
And when Samuel confronted him, he said, Saul, I know you think less of yourself. And so what happens is so he was rejected by the Lord. He's no longer king. But what happened was Saul thought so less of himself that he shouldn't have been king, that he fell into rebellion and he fell into disobeying God. And that's exactly where I was. I was in a place of position, a place of power, a place of influence. And when God confronted me, I was rebellious. And I felt like I was rejected by God. And I think because of the way I was living, I was being opposed by God. And it doesn't mean the goodness of God was on my life, like I was saying. You know, I felt like I was blessed. I was. You know, we're all blessed to some capacity. We have air in our lungs, right?
Yeah.
But I think that God wanted to bless me more, and I wasn't letting him do it. And so I think looking back on it, how I dealt with it was in the wrong way. But coming down years later, give it about, you know, when I turned 18, 19, was really the worst of it. Parents divorced. I found out that when I was a baby, my dad cheated on my mom with someone in the church. And I found that out at 18, 19. My trust for my family went out the window. And I always felt like the black sheep of the family. You know, like I never felt like accepted. And then on TheVoice, rejected. And then here, rejected. And so I'm like, man, I'll just reject myself. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into smoking, drinking. I'm gonna go try everything I can and try and get some kind of results in my life that aren't this. They split, and brother and sister went to live with mom. And, you know, sister like would go back and forth from dad's house. Dad started drinking, you know, getting worse and worse, dating other people, stuff like that. I couldn't handle it. So what we did was I went to music school in Hollywood at MI. I went away, moved at 18, and started living in an apartment on Hollywood Boulevard. I started rapping on the Hollywood Boulevard with my little speaker and with my mic, hoping that someone would see me from some record label. Wow. No one's seen me. I made about, you know, $80 a day, which wasn't too bad. But, you know, I was doing everything I could, bro, to still pursue that music. And the people that I would rub shoulders with out there, they weren't necessarily bad people. They're just people that weren't committed to God. Right. And that lifestyle. And so some of those people I still talk to today now. But I was partying, I was drinking, bro. I was smoking weed. Bro, I was trying to get with girls, and I grew up in church. I had never done any of that stuff. So I was like, if I experienced all this stuff on TheVoice, I'm gonna use this influence now. And now I'm gonna get people to give me things, and I'm gonna try and feel better about myself because I'm so rejected. And what happened was I got to a place where I completely got in the wrong relationship, and I moved back in with my dad, and I ended up being in a place where I wanted to kill myself. And I came to a place where I was like, man, like, I don't even wanna live anymore. Like, I completely, I believe I'm so rejected by others that I'm rejecting myself right now. And I believe God's rejecting me too. And so I came to a place where I wanted to commit suicide. And that was when I left my dad's house and I moved out to my uncle's house in North Carolina because my mom just couldn't see me like that anymore. She's like, you gotta get better or go to the Army. So I went straight with my uncle. He now runs an organization called Love Life, which helps stop abortion, which is great. So I served there. God kept me in his hands, you know, and I was still in church and things like that, but I was a wanderer for sure. It wasn't until I met Pastor Gabriel when I moved back with my mom in California, and I needed a place to stay. My dad wouldn't let me live with him. My mom really didn't want me living with her because I was just pushing everybody away. But I still had this problem with suicide, in and out of relationships. And Pastor Gabriel reached out to me because I went to school with someone who goes to his church, and they said, you should have this guy come and speak to your kids. Now, I know what you might be thinking, man, this guy's going through all this. He's gonna go come speak to some teens, right? I just seen it as an opportunity. I didn't know I was going through all that really. I was like, I know I'm going through pain and suffering, and I just don't know what it actually is that's causing it when it was really me. So Pastor Gabe met with me just to make sure I wasn't, you know,
Venture out a little
poison the kids.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't want to do that, you know. But he's very wise, so I'm glad he did that. Because when he did that, we had a 6-hour meeting at Starbucks. And that 6-hour meeting turned into 6 hours of mentorship. It was only supposed to be like 30 minutes. And I left the relationship at that time. I blocked the person. I literally realized I had unforgiveness towards my dad. As soon as I seen him, I pulled up my shirt and said, hey, check out these tattoos, bro. What do you think? It says Son of God, all written right here. And I didn't think there was anything wrong with tattoos. He's like, wow. He's like, bro, you know, that's some cool artwork, but did you know, bro, like, I've actually casted demons out of some people, and the demons came from the tattoos. And I was like, oh, snap, really? Like, I was like really blown away. Like, I never heard that in church before. And so he started sharing that stuff with me, and bro, I'm like tatted. Like, I'm just trying to like blow his mind. Like, I feel like I want to just throw it all out there just to see what he thought of it, you know, kind of test him.
All your guards down, just let everything out.
Yeah, exactly. And so I start crying, bro. And I'm like, man, I don't even have a place to live. We're in Anaheim at the time. He's in San Bernardino. I'm over here in Costa Mesa with my mom. So, you know, that's a drive. So we're there, and he's like, bro, you need a place to live, bro? Just come live with me, bro. I'm like, what? He's like, come live with me, you know, and we can talk more about it and stuff. But you need mentorship, you know? And I had never had mentorship. I never really probably heard that word before.
Yeah.
That was never a thing. Then my dad barely mentored me in like our music. He never really like spiritually did Bible studies with me and helped me grow in God. You know, it was more so like a collective effort from the church and friends and things like that and the Christian school I went to. But, you know, when he said that, I was like, wow, that's a good idea. Let me talk to my mom. I talked to my mom. She loved the idea. I moved in that week.
Wow.
Bro. Still working in Brea, driving to his house, going to church though, but committed as a disciple. He moved me in. I shared with him. I blocked my dad because he had hurt my feelings, stuff like that. I even wrote a song about my dad and performed it and stuff. It was horrible. But I told him about all these things. Like, bro, you got to forgive your dad for everything that he did. And you have to just release that, because if you don't, it's poison to you. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll do it. Let's forgive him. I was just so yes, because I had been in church for so long. I knew it was good.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let me just do this. And God really blessed me for it. Gabe moved out of that house. I ended up taking it over, turning it into a men's home for aging out foster kids with the church. And then from there, I met Alexis, my wonderful wife, there at the church. Wow. And she had been on mission trips before, and we got married. I moved out of that place after a year and like some change. And, you know, I went on staff with the church right after that.